Before Meghan Markle ever started pretending to be the perfect royal, she was already working her real magic. It wasn't charm, and it certainly wasn't acting talent. It was networking with the cold, surgical precision of a master strategist. While other actresses were begging for auditions and running lines in their tiny apartments, Meghan was perfecting her real side hustle, social climbing with a disarming smile and, as many would come to find, very little substance. Her real throne wasn't on a film set. It was at Soho House, the exclusive, velvet-roped playground for the rich, the famous, and the restless. And standing right next to her through every carefully sipped glass of champagne and every perfectly timed fake laugh was Markus Anderson. He was the guy who could turn a nobody into a somebody faster than you can say networking queen. He was the man who somehow went from serving drinks to serving secrets, a social alchemist who could spin opportunity out of thin air. Before Meghan Markle was even a blip on the royal radar, Marcus was already busy climbing his own social ladder, building it high enough for two. The story of Meghan and Marcus is the hidden chapter in her royal fairy tale, the one the palace doesn't want you to read. It's a story of leverage, ambition, and the silent kingmaker who held all the cards. Before we dive into the explosive details of how this one man orchestrated Meghan's rise and nearly caused the monarchy's meltdown, it would mean the world to us here at the Ruby Report if you would hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss how one friendship built on ambition became the biggest threat the palace had ever seen. Markus Anderson's story is astounding in itself. He started his journey at Soho House, London as a simple waiter. But this guy wasn't just pouring cocktails, he was pouring on the charm, collecting secrets and favors like other people collect tips. He possessed a rare talent that most people would kill for. He made powerful people feel like they needed him. By the time Meghan met him, he had already transformed himself from a mere employee into the global membership director, the ultimate gatekeeper of the elite. If you wanted into the most exclusive rooms in the world, you had to go through Marcus. And that's exactly what Meghan did. With her hawk-like ability to spot opportunity, she didn't just meet Marcus, she latched on. She saw him not as a friend, but as a career move in human form, a stepping stone paved in gold. He had the connections, and she wanted every last one. Before long, Meghan was jetting off on so-called business trips, all funded by Soho House, rubbing elbows with producers, executives, artists, and anyone else who could inch her closer to the fame she so desperately craved. It wasn't friendship, it was a cold, calculated strategy. If ambition had a face, it would be Meghan Markle with Markus Anderson by her side. He arranged the parties, she worked the rooms. He opened the doors, she flashed the smile. Together, they became the ultimate social power duo, climbing their way through society's inner circles faster than anyone could blink. But their biggest play was yet to come. It was Marcus, according to multiple insiders, who reportedly arranged that cozy little weekend at Soho Farmhouse. Yes, the very same exclusive, rustic retreat where Meghan just so happened to meet Prince Harry. Coincidence? Please. In Meghan's world, there is no such thing as luck. There are only logistics. Marcus may not have worn a crown, but he played kingmaker like a seasoned pro. When Meghan finally snagged her prince, a curious thing happened. Most of her old friends, the ones from her Hollywood life, quietly disappeared, fading into the background as if they never existed. But Marcus, oh no, he wasn't going anywhere. While her former pals stayed far away from the royal circus, Marcus managed to do the impossible. He slipped right inside the palace gates without a title, without a pedigree, and without a single drop of royal blood in his veins. He wasn't just a guest, he became a fixture. He was everywhere. He attended pre-wedding parties, joined them on private holidays, and was a constant presence at secret dinners, always in the background, always smiling that knowing smile. The palace staff reportedly didn't know what to make of him. He wasn't family, but he sure behaved like he owned the place. He wasn't staff, but he seemed to have more access than most of the aides. Some insiders even started calling him Meghan's shadow, because every time the new duchess turned up somewhere, Marcus was never far behind, a constant, unnerving presence. And the royals noticed. They noticed quietly, awkwardly, and with a growing sense of unease. Because Marcus didn't play by palace rules. He didn't bow to anyone, he didn't take orders, and he certainly didn't care for the rigid hierarchy that governs royal life. His only loyalty wasn't to the crown, it was to Meghan. And in the paranoid world of the monarchy, that made people very nervous. Whispers started swirling that he was still pulling strings from behind the scenes, advising her, guiding her, and reinforcing her worst instincts. He wasn't just a friend, he was a liability in waiting. Then came the moment the palace had been dreading. It started as a whisper, a single, anonymous source said to be close to Markus Anderson dropping a cryptic remark to a journalist about his unbreakable bond with Meghan. But in the world of royal gossip, a whisper is all it takes for a hurricane to hit. Within hours, the tabloids went completely feral. Headlines screamed that Markus Anderson, Meghan's so-called best friend, had finally spilled royal secrets. Suddenly, every old photograph, every shared trip, and every cozy dinner between them was re-examined as evidence of a conspiracy. The palace freaked out. Behind those ancient stone walls, it was utter chaos. Aides were running around, phones were ringing off the hook, and senior royals were demanding to know how a glorified Soho House socialite had just managed to shake the foundations of the monarchy. The PR team went into what they called containment mode, which is a polite term for blind panic. They wanted to know who talked, who leaked, and more importantly, what other secrets Markus Anderson might be hiding. Because if this man ever decided to open his mouth fully, there would be no tiaras left to polish. Meghan, who was already battling a hostile press, now had a new crisis, and this one was so much worse because it came from inside her own tiny, trusted circle. Insiders claimed she was furious, that the sense of betrayal cut deep. And what did Marcus do? He stayed completely, utterly silent. Not a single denial, not a single clarification. Just silence. And his silence, oh, that was the loudest, most terrifying part of all. It was the silence of a man who knew he held all the cards, the silence of a man who knew everything. In royal circles, silence doesn't mean innocence. It means you're holding all the receipts. After the fallout from the so-called Marcus leak, his name became radioactive within the palace. He vanished back into the shadows, his favorite place, apparently. The man who once couldn't walk into a party without being photographed suddenly became a ghost. The public storm might have died down, but the damage was permanent. Meghan's inner circle, once filled with a rotating cast of influencers and pseudo-friends, shrank down to a few loyal soldiers. Trust became a luxury she could no longer afford. Everyone was a potential leak, a ticking headline waiting to explode. Years later, just as the world was beginning to forget his name, Marcus briefly resurfaced. At a private event, in a comment that mysteriously leaked online, he described Meghan as deeply misunderstood and fiercely determined. It wasn't a full betrayal, but it wasn't a declaration of loyalty either. It was a perfectly crafted, ambiguous statement that only made everyone more suspicious. It was PR speak for, she's a handful, but I'm not saying it out loud. He didn't spill the tea, he just stirred it, making it even more toxic. In the end, the story of Meghan and Marcus reads less like a friendship and more like a royal ghost story, one that refuses to die and continues to haunt the Duchess of Sussex. He was there before the tiaras, before the scandals, and before Megxit. He saw her transform from a hustling actress into a global duchess, and he watched her ambition consume everything in its path. He never wrote a book or cashed in, but his silence became the loudest message of all, a quiet, chilling warning about what happens when you burn too bright. Maybe he kept her secrets out of some lingering sense of loyalty. Or maybe, just maybe, he's a brilliant strategist, holding on to his most valuable asset, waiting for the right moment or the right price. Either way, one thing is crystal clear. In Meghan Markle's world, every friendship seems to have an expiration date, and every trusted ally eventually becomes a headline. Markus Anderson might have walked away quietly, but the shadow he left behind, it still follows the Duchess wherever she goes.